Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augment Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I am your host as usual. And obviously, welcome back to the show. Today is episode 67 of the show. Obviously, you guys voted on the poll, and we're going to be talking about BlizzCon 2019. And specifically what happened, because as we're all aware of my previous episode that I've done before, talking about the whole Blizzard and Chinese censorship thing, this year's BlizzCon was very interesting. It was obviously very politically charged. There was a lot of protests going on. But I don't want to focus on that because, like I said, we've already discussed this issue. I've already shared, where I stand on it and, talked about the ramifications of said issue, which, like I said, this year's BlizzCon, it was going to be very, very politically charged. There was a lot of protests going on, but there were some big things that happened. And I'd say for me, which is also funny too, because one of the things we're going to talk about was the apology they did and how it didn't really add up. But like I said, we'll go into it. So what actually happened at BlizzCon 2019? So what happened? So there was actually a lot of things revealed. There was some championships held there as well. So let's break down, I'd say, the little news. Well, basically, yeah, let's break down the little news. So I'd say probably the first thing to go into is going to be the championship. So the Team USA's triumphant 2019 Overwatch World Cup victory. So congratulations to the Overwatch team of Team USA. Congratulations on them for winning the World Cup. Obviously a very big thing. Obviously there was also let me make sure I'm saying this correctly. Obviously we had the Hearthstone's global finals. We had those take place where we crowned a champion. Obviously a new World of Warcraft MDI 2019 winner rises. So it basically talks about the Mystic Dungeon International, or MDI, pits the best dungeon runners head to head to see who has the skills to rise to the top. And this year's winner has done just that. So congratulations on the winner. Obviously, we had the StarCraft 2 WCS Global Finals champion that was crowned. So congratulations on that. What else did we get? So obviously we also had the BlizzCon 2019 Arena World Championship winners. So basically the little news on that is 8 teams from around the globe arrived at BlizzCon 2019 this week to prove that their team had what it takes to claim the top spot in the Arena World Championship. So they did that. And then, but there was 4 big reveals that happened in terms of Blizzard games that happened at this event. So I want to talk about the one, going in order, because there's one that I want to talk about the most. And then we'll go into the whole apology thing and because that did take up a large portion of the event. So we had 4, obviously, as we all know, Blizzard is known for 4 games that they make: Hearthstone's, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, and Diablo. Thankfully, this year, we had finally a new Diablo that was not a mobile game. So that whole debacle that happened with Diablo Immortal, bless the Lord Almighty, we got over it. So we finally have another Diablo game. Diablo 4 is coming. It was announced. And they unveiled it, is essentially what they did. And they obviously showed some trailers with it. See, a cinematic trailer. And they also showed gameplay. So I'm not a big Diablo fan. I've never played Diablo. I know a lot of people love Diablo. I know that. A lot of people do. There's also they're also talking about, I'm trying to see what else they showed off regarding Diablo 4. I believe they also did show off when they're launching it, or if they just unveiled it. I hadn't seen it because, like I said, this wasn't something I really looked into because I personally don't care that much about Diablo. I personally don't. I've never played it. And, I'm just not interested. And obviously, Hearthstone's, they got another expansion coming. They got the Descent of Dragons, the newest expansion coming for Hearthstone. So for Hearthstone's players, you guys got that coming. So hope you guys enjoy that. Obviously, like going into what it talks about, this is what they posted on the Blizzard website. And I'll obviously, post a link where it talks about everything that happened, announcing Descent of Dragons. And, basically this is what it says from the website. Earlier this year, we experienced the rise of shadows, where the League of EVIL, or acronym EVIL, set a master plan into motion. A daring theft of a floating city of Dalaran. I'm probably butchering that because I never played this game, but still. That plot thickened in swirling sands and dusty tomb, where plagues were unleashed, and the saviors of Uldum stood up to the forces of evil. Now, it's time for this epic story to reach its conclusion, and it's time for some dragons. I kind of like how I read that. Descent of Dragons takes the fight between the League of Evil and the League of Explorers to the skies above Dragonblight, where the final phase of Rapham's arch-villainous plot is underway. As Dalaran continues to streak across the skies of Azeroth, it now carries a sinister payload. It seems that not all the plagues were contained in Uldum, and Rapham plans to leverage this bounty of Laraceni to resurrect a great power thought long defeated. Galakron, the progenitor of all dragonkind, may have perished in the waste of the wastes. I don't know why it says the wastes. It doesn't make sense. In the wastes of Dragonblight, but this minor detail hasn't prevented Rapham from making the bygone behemoth a crucial part of his master plan. Using the plague of undeath, Rapham and his league will resurrect Galakron and unleash an unimaginable level of devastation across Northrend. That is, unless the League of Explorers can come together and conquer their greatest challenge yet. Descent of Dragons will take flight globally on December 10th, 2019, introducing a new card set, new mechanics, and a whole host of dragons. So for people that like Hearthstones, you guys got your next expansion coming on December 10th. I hope you guys enjoy. Like I said, I'm personally not a Hearthstones player. I've never played it. I've seen some of it, but I'm not that interested. Now, I kind of like how I went these in order of ones that I'm just not that much interested. We go into World of Warcraft, which... obviously, World of Warcraft Classic really did a lot of help for Blizzard because it brought a lot of people back. Because for some reason, nostalgia is a really nice thing. A lot of people really like nostalgia. Like, nostalgia sells. Like, it's easy. Like, it's like people that go back and watch iCarly and Hannah Montana. And, I'm going to say because I grew up with those shows and I like them. Don't at me. Somebody, you better not at me because I'm going on record. I like those shows growing up because they made my childhood enjoyable. But aside from that, people like nostalgia. Nostalgia is great. It's like me and Transformers, and I love the G1 Transformers. It's great. It's like Power Rangers. I love it. But World of Warcraft is going to get it says World of Warcraft Shadowlands. So it's the next expansion for World of Warcraft. So it talks about it a little bit as well on the website, so I'll go over what it says. It's just really brief in comparison to the other one. Sylvanas Windrunner, fallen leader of the Horde, has pierced the veil between Azeroth and the realm of the dead, setting in motion a series of events that threaten to upset the cosmic balance between life and death. Azeroth's heroes will confront the wonders and horrors of the afterlife as they deal with the consequences of Sylvanas' actions. And then obviously, Shadowlands is now available for pre-purchase in-game and through the Blizzard shop. For more information, visit the official site and stay tuned for the What's Next panel on Friday, 2:30 p.m. to 3:15 p.m. PTD, and then, the deep dive panel on Saturday. So great. If you like World of Warcraft, if you guys had a lot of fun with Classic and, you still enjoy it, but obviously for people that, like how World of Warcraft is right now, this is your next big expansion. So have fun with that. Now for the big one that everyone has been asking me about, Overwatch 2. We knew this was going to happen. We knew Blizzard was going to do this. Like, we're not going to stand here and pretend like Blizzard wasn't going to. We knew they were going to do it. This is where, it's like I said, a lot of people, and I said the same thing when Overwatch came out. To me, Overwatch was just like TF2. It's just with, supers and, powers and like all these crazy stuff. And it was, to me, it looked like it was basically the same way as TF2. TF2 was the first, well, I'd say the first popular one that had a team-based, like capturing objectives or things like that, where you had different classes, you know, different abilities, different personalities with each class, and it was crazy. And I personally never played it. I know a lot of my friends have played it, and they have so many hours in that game, and I know it's really popular. But I played a lot of Overwatch when I still played it, and I really liked it. I think Overwatch in the state it is right now, it's in a weird spot, personally, because you know, like I said, we talked about it a while back. The whole political pushing with Overwatch has been very unnecessary. Like, I get it, but still, like, you guys don't have to just shove this down everyone's throat just to push an agenda. Like, come on, guys. Like, we don't like politics in our games. Like, we want these things separate. Like, we're not saying you shouldn't, but we're being honest. Like, we don't buy games for political messages. We don't. We buy games to be entertained because it's entertainment. It's not some place to push your beliefs on somebody. No, it goes both ways. I can't push my beliefs, which, you know, everyone knows my beliefs very simply. I don't push my beliefs on anybody, especially in games. I don't. I keep it separate. I separate it because we are not supposed to force our beliefs on anyone. That's wrong. And so Overwatch, like, I haven't played Overwatch. A lot of people are currently annoyed with Overwatch, you know, and especially with Overwatch 2, it's very interesting. And, you know, this is what it says in the Blizzard. This is what it says in the Blizzard form. And we'll actually go to the Overwatch website and, you know, like, go into it as well, because I think it's very important to understand what's happening. Like, what is, you know, like, what's transpired, because I think this is very important where we need to address what's going on. So this is what it says on the Blizzard website before we go over to the other one. So, we're pleased to announce Overwatch 2, a globe-spanning sequel that builds on the original's battle-honed foundation and carries forward everything players have earned into the new era of epic competition and team play. In addition to clashing against rivals in PvP modes, players will explore the Overwatch universe firsthand in a whole new ways in fully cooperative missions that challenge the world's heroes to team up, power up, and take on an overwhelming outbreak that threats around the globe. And if we go to the website, the Overwatch specific website, where it talks about some of the more, I'd say, logistics behind Overwatch 2, because there's a lot of logistics behind it. There really is. And, you know, and so let's talk about it. So here we go. Let's talk about it. Here we go. So this is what it talks about, the story mode. So it says, play an active role in the next chapter of the Overwatch saga through a series of intense 4-player missions. Fight back against Null Sector, uncover the motives behind the Omnic attacks, and confront a rising wave of new threats. The battle continues with hero missions as escalating crises break out around the world. Encounter an ever-changing array of scenarios with a range of diverse and dangerous enemies. Level up your favorite heroes and earn powerful customizations to help beat the odds. And then obviously it goes into it. New factions arise. It's up to you and your friends to stop Null Sector, the elite forces of Talon, and the other enemies of Overwatch from carrying out their plans. Each enemy faction features a unique mix of units with their own strategies and strengths, challenging you to adapt your approach to every time you play. So, obviously, it's talking about the new villains, the Null Sector, like, it's going into, like, because that's obviously the new guys, is the Null Sector. And then it talks about, like, the new looks, you know, team versus team, you know, it's talking, like, these are the new area of competition where it talks about it. And it talks about the new map type, which is called Push. In Push, a new symmetrical map type that will launch with Overwatch 2, teams battle to take the control of a robot that begins in a central location, then push forward the enemy base. Either team may take control of the robot at any time. The team that pushes the robot furthest onto the enemy side wins the game. And then it says ever-evolving multiplayer, a bigger world. Take the battle to new iconic international locations, from the colorful streets of Rio de Janeiro to the scenic splendor of Gothenburg. New faces. Overwatch 2 will add new heroes to the roster, shaking up competitive play and creating opportunities for bold new strategies. So obviously, you know, it's mainly Overwatch 2, and this is also something that was very clear from the get-go as well, that we were shown that Overwatch 2 is going to include some new stuff. Primarily, what I'm going to be referring to is, if I'm correct, I actually remember correctly, it should be the one things that changed is just the PvP. PvE mode is what's different. Oh, you're only buying Overwatch 2 just to get access to the story, because everything that will be on the multiplayer, based on what a post Blizzard actually did, they said that all the multiplayer features will be transferred over to Overwatch, the original. So multiplayer, everything will stay the same. Everybody's getting the same maps, all the new heroes, it's all the same. The only thing you're paying the extra $60 for, a story mode. So take what you will with that. I personally, I don't know. I'm up in arms. It really just depends on how good the story mode is. I get a lot of people are interested in the story of Overwatch because, yes, they make some really great cinematic trailers. They really do. Like, top of the line. These are great trailers. Like, these are phenomenal. They are phenomenal. And I cannot oversell, and I can't undersell it either, because they're just that good. Like, they make really good cinematic trailers for games, and it sells the game itself because the story is so interesting. Now, granted, is there reasons I personally don't play Overwatch anymore, so I personally won't be buying it. But for anybody that's really interested in Overwatch, and if this is, what you wanted, if you wanted to explore the story, then, by all means, you make the choice. If you want to go buy it. But, that's up to you. Like, and there's a lot of stuff. Like, do I think it's kind of crazy the next Overwatch? Yes. Like, I knew it was going to happen. I kind of made the joke. It's like, bro, if they're going to go down the same route as TF2, there is going to be an Overwatch 2, because like we said, Team Fortress, there was Team Fortress 1 and then Team Fortress 2. Obviously, Team Fortress 2 is seeing a resurgence. So, but like I said, this isn't the only thing, because like we mentioned, and we're going to talk about it, Blizzard CEO specifically, and let me pull up his name so I actually don't shoot myself in the foot, because, I'm trying not to shoot myself in the foot. Let me pull up his name real quick. Give me 1 second. One very close second. I'm just pulling up his name so that I don't get it wrong. Let me pull up his name. What was it? I know it's Blizzard CEO. Yes, here we go. Blizzard CEO Alan Brack issued an apology throughout the event. In his perspective, it came off as genuine, and he was talking about the whole situation with Blitzchung and how, yes, his actions were uncalled for, that Blizzard went a little bit too far, that they acknowledged that they acted too quickly, and that they went too far with it, and that it was very harsh for no reason. And they apologized. They were sincere that they basically said it didn't line up with their goals and their visions at Blizzard, but at the same time, it also doesn't reflect their inclusive environment that they've created for gamers. And they've admitted that it wasn't a smart decision, and they apologized that they were a little bit too late. Now, granted, did this appease the protesters? Nope. Protesters were still mad, and even people like Rich from Review Tech USA, he even agrees, and I agree with Rich on this one, where yes, I do believe it was the right call to make the apology. It just didn't seem to me, it seemed genuine. I do get where he's coming from, and I agree that it was a really bad call, but it's also a little bit too late, in my opinion, because it just seemed like he had to give this apology. He had to, because his back was against the wall, and people were really pissed. People in the community were boycotting Blizzard games. People were pissed because this was not a good look on Blizzard, because like I said, this is promoting censorship and removing the freedom of speech that we have in the United States. And clearly this is wrong. And obviously, depending on what side you stand regarding the political situation with Hong Kong and China, it's a very tense situation. I'll be honest. It is very tense. And, I do believe that Alan Brack did the best that he can. I believe he was being serious. Obviously, what happened afterwards, it makes me question his apology a bit, and we'll talk about that as well, because it's part of the whole event, and it's what happened during BlizzCon. So it's very important, because like I said, I knew BlizzCon this year was going to be filled with so much protest. There was going to be so much stuff going on that it is I knew there was going to be protests, and I knew Blizzard had to make an apology. It was their biggest stage of the year. They had to say something because, yeah, it's a really bad situation. And keep in mind, they didn't really rectify the situation. So they gave Blitzchung his money back, but he's still suspended for 6 months. And they didn't undo that. So, yeah, well, that's why I said like the apology kind of got retracted because of some of the comments he made afterwards, where they said that it's company policy that they still won't undo the banning. They still believe that, esports players are allowed to say whatever they want on their own platform, but on company ground or Blizzard streams, they are not allowed to share their political beliefs. And granted, I agree with that because I do not believe gaming and politics should be mixed together, but I understand that this is this is one of those gray areas where to bring awareness to a situation that's really bad. And like I said, Blitzchung's comments were very tame. He did not say anything crazy. He didn't insult anybody. No, he just said, freedom for Hong Kong. That's all he said. Like, that's basically what he said. Like, he didn't do anything crazy. And, he was brave for doing it. What he said was absolutely right. But at the same time, he was very brave. He didn't do anything wrong. But I will also say that, Blizzard has a point that, they say that they hold their employees to the same standard that, hey, on your own social platforms, you're allowed to share your political beliefs, share your religion, share whatever you want on your own platform, but just don't do it on company dime. And people are like, okay, that makes sense. But something happened that came out recently that showed Blizzard was lying through their teeth. And I'll specifically go into it because it's pretty bad. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, it's pretty bad because let me see if I can pull up this guy's name because it's really bad. Let me see if I can find his name real quick. Let me see if I can find his name because that's the thing is, where is his name? I got to find his name. Where is this lovable man's name? Let me see if I can find it. There it is. So we had an employee for Blizzard at Twitter handle AskJane. And this is a tweet that he originally posted regarding the situation. This was before BlizzCon. This was posted on October 9th of 2019 at 4:51 p.m. This tweet has since been deleted, but thanks to screen capture, we still have it. So this is what he said. While I recognize the right that at Blizzard Entertainment has to enforce their rules and standards on competitors such as Blitzchung, I condemn the censorship and severity of consequences brought against an individual who is campaigning for a human rights social movement. Very tame comment. Very tame comment. And it was removed. And people wondered, well, why'd he remove it? Like, originally we thought Blizzard asked him to remove it because, logistically you don't want that floating around. But it wasn't until the Dallas Morning News confirmed, they talked about it, and they actually confirmed that he was forced to remove it by Blizzard. So, Blizzard's living a double standard here. They have two faces. And one face is obviously towards the Chinese and one is towards the American public. Or I'd say specifically people that are defending the freedom of speech. And like I said, the freedom of speech, it's the same thing because it's not a fine line to walk. It's very clear. It's like, look, you're allowed to express yourself. As long as you don't bring harm and danger to anybody, you're free to say what you want. Like, we've talked about this multiple times in some of my classes, and we've discussed it in, we've had some serious conversations with people like complain about hate speech. And specifically, like, I'll just say this as an example where somebody asked, hey, what about hate speech in newspapers? Or say like somebody says something like related to hate speech. Hate speech is still protected by the First Amendment. I don't know. I may not agree with that, but it still is because we are not allowed to censor somebody's opinion, even if it's wrong. Like, we can admit they're wrong. You are allowed to say whatever you want, but you can be sued for whatever you say. Like, whatever you say about somebody else, you will deal with the consequences and ramifications of what you say, but you're allowed to say what you want. That's the thing. We can't stop you from saying what you want because this has been multiple court cases where we can't stop the freedom of speech, where anyone's allowed to say whatever they want. Because people bring up the clear and present danger test. It's only been used once based on what we talked about in history, that we only used it once. And, it's only used once, but that's on very, very, very extreme cases. Like I said, very extreme. And we protect the right to freedom of speech. And the fact that Blizzard went out of their way to, support the Chinese government and, censor criticism against them is it's wrong. It really is. And the fact that Blizzard is living this double standard, I get the apology and I get he may have been sincere about it, but at the same time, he even said it in his own words. Our actions speak louder than words. And their actions don't line up. Their actions show the opposite, that they don't really care, that they don't really believe that what they did was right. Because one, if we're being honest, their actions don't line up. They did not undo the suspension. That was wrongful. They wrongfully suspended him because he didn't do anything wrong. He was just sharing his beliefs and everything. And like I said, if the policies were in place and enforced properly, then yes, I believe that, yes, maybe. But the fact that it wasn't, and his comment was very tame, I believe his suspension, he shouldn't have been suspended at all. He shouldn't have lost his prize money. I'm glad that Blizzard gave him his prize money back, but at the same time, the fact that they reduced his suspension instead of just getting rid of it completely is very wrong. I'll say that now. It is very wrong. And, they're just showing that they don't really care. They just want that Chinese dala. That's what they want. And they don't want to lose that market. And I get why. Their games, for some reason, companies really love the Chinese market. And I get it. It's a lot of people you're working with. And, there's a lot of revenue that comes from the Chinese market. But at the same time, this morally doesn't sound right. It morally doesn't. And, to me, that's why I agree with the protesters. They're still going to be mad. Even after the apology, they were still mad. They were saying, how dare you make us get off our couch? I wish I was joking, but if you actually look at some of the videos, it is funny on how they went about this, and it's so funny. And I'll put the link to Rick's video regarding the whole apology and talking about hey, you didn't really mean it, you kind of redacted it and they were lying to us. But I'll post that link in the description below so you guys can see that video as well and see what I'm talking about in more detail. But overall, I think BlizzCon, like I said, I knew BlizzCon this year was going to be very tense. I knew there was going to be a lot of political backlash. There was going to be a lot of drama. I already knew this was going to happen. And, like I said, you reap what you sow. Blizzard wanted to play a little bit of the censorship game and it didn't work out for them. And it bit them in the butt. And I only hope that they realize, you have to pick a side, and hopefully they pick the side of freedom of speech. Because censoring people just because they have an opinion that, hurts your bottom line is not okay. That's wrong. I say the same thing with people that don't agree with me. I'm not going to go out of my way to censor them because that's wrong. They're allowed to express how they feel. And the same thing, they're not allowed to censor me for what I believe. I don't believe that. I believe that you are allowed to share what you have to offer and share what you believe. Now, granted, do I have to agree with it? No, I'm given, like I said, my freedom of speech, and, I'm allowed to choose if I want to believe you or not. But I will give you the respect to let you speak and not censor you. That's that's how we work as a society. And, I only hope that Blizzard realizes that they can't keep playing they can't keep playing this double standard. It's not good. You can't be two-faced in this scenario. You have to pick a side. And obviously, like I said, it's pretty clear that Blizzard has chosen the side of siding with the Chinese government. And, we just have to wait and see. And, they'll find out how quickly people will turn on them. Yes, I do believe that they announced a lot of things that people wanted. They wanted another Hearthstone expansion. They wanted Diablo 4. They wanted depending Overwatch 2, but they wanted Overwatch 2, and they got another World of Warcraft expansion. Obviously, the championship game for each of those other games, they obviously happened, and congratulations. But like I said, Blizzard's got to take a side. I think BlizzCon was good this year. Obviously, yes, in terms of, political tension, it was running very high. I'd say this year was more tense than last year's, because last year's people were mainly pissed about the whole Diablo Immortal thing. And people were really pissed about that. And the really, really ignorant comment, don't you guys have phones? Come on, guys, don't you have phones? Oh my, that was Oh, that was one of the dumbest things anyone could have ever said. But I'm glad that at least we got some true game updates and true things coming from Blizzard. Like, granted, like I said, my opinion still stands. They need to choose a side. This isn't right that, they keep walking this fine line. Like, they need to choose a side, and they need to be honest about it. And, just be honest. I think that's the best thing they can do. But overall, that's all I got for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I love you guys so much because you guys keep coming back and listening to the show. At the time of this recording, we are currently at 651 total downloads. So thank you guys so much for that. I am truly humbled that you guys keep coming back and listening. I really am. I hope you guys continue to keep coming back and listening and keep supporting the show. I will say this, that there is a special project that I am working on and an idea that I'm considering that I hope you guys, would give me your ears and listen when the time comes that I decide to share what I'm planning. Also, for the Patreon backers, I am still working on finalizing that video for y'all to show what I was working on with the LGV50, and I'm going to be posting it on the Instagram page so you guys know when it's live. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for your time and coming back and listening to today's episode. It really means a lot to me. I love you guys to death. Have yourselves a wonderful week, and I'll see you guys Friday. Bye, guys.
Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.